All right, being 5:15, I'd like to call the finance personnel meeting to order. Everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Judy, has attendance been noted?
It has.
Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve the
I
agenda?
move to accept the second agenda.
Motion been made by Mike, seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Need approval of the April 3rd meeting minutes.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion been made by John, seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment? Seeing none, we'll consideration of voting location central column. Nicole?
Thanks for having me. I am just looking at ways to make the elections more efficient, especially with the presidential coming up in November. Chris and I have, thought of ways to do that. One is to get a larger pool of poll workers, which we've managed to do. We got 8 new poll workers this term, plus 6 new poll workers. We were able to do half-day shifts, so that was good. We were able to get a few people that were only willing to work half days. So that's plugging away as a way to have the more efficient elections. The other thing that I am hoping to bring to you guys and council is consolidating polling places. Right now, the city has 5 polling places, and for a municipality of 7,200, that's quite a bit. It takes a lot of time for us to set up those polling places. That's street crew time, and that's Chris and I's time. And then when we have things like weather, like we did in April, that's different parking lots that we're having to clean off and walkways. And generally, I just feel better about election security, having fewer places and with a preference for city-owned properties and maintained properties, and less disruption to the senior center, their meal site, and things like that. So what we are proposing is using the North Band room that we recently got the lease for. There's a picture of it in your packet. It's a nice, round, or not round, nice rectangle room with good flow, good accessibility, and, parking on the, ground level. So what we're proposing is combining those 2 Washington Center polling places into that facility, and to stop using Trinity, just because that's not maintained by the city. So we'd have 3 polling places there. And then another efficiency that I'd like to see is using central count. So instead of taking our absentee ballots to the polling places, we would just process them, and it has to be in public. It'd still be the same process where you're saying the voter's name, and anyone in the public can observe this. But doing that here at the municipal building, instead of bringing them to each of the polling places, and not tying up the lines if there's voters that are there to vote. So what I have in the packet for you are 2 ordinances. One is to set up a central count. And I did some research. So this ordinance comes from another municipality that, or from the Wisconsin Election Commission as a sample. I talked to clerks in Greenville and in Grand Chute. They've been doing it Grand Chute's been doing it for about a decade. Greenville just did it this time. And they said it's a game changer, the central count. They said it's way efficient. They would hate to do it any other way. So positive feedback from clerks and poll workers. And so I have that ordinance in the packet on the central count, and then I have the other ordinance to set up Trinity at, no longer as a polling place, but to have it at the Washington Center. Really, the only downsides I see on this are, people are resistant to change, and want to be able to vote in their neighborhood, but from our standpoint, it's not that big of a city and it's geographically pretty close to Trinity. I mean, it's a few blocks, from Trinity to Washington Center, so.
I think it's better than Trinity for most of my district.
Yeah, and, with the referendum questions passing this past election, we don't know, it might come down the pipeline where we can't use non-public facilities, because of the, no longer allowing any private donations for elections. So there was some talk that might mean not being able to use, private facilities, so.
They don't feel that this is gonna reduce the number of people or make it harder for them to vote?
I don't think so. We are seeing quite a few people vote absentee, so I think the people that, if it was difficult for them to, go to the polling place, they always have that option to vote absentee too. And we've really, post-COVID have seen a ton of people voting absentee, so. Yeah, I don't see that necessarily. Trinity is the one that has, like Celestial Hills, like the new apartment building, and, St. Joe's there too, so.
So the Washington Center, this would discontinue using the senior center as a,
Right, we would, instead of using that activity room, the lunch, the room that they're serving the congregate meals, we would combine all of those down into that north band room,
so there'd be 3 districts voting in the band.
in the band room, yeah.
So I know there's street level parking there and everything, but if 3 districts voting there all at once, would there still be enough parking?
Yeah, so I did an accessibility study, which you have to do for that. There's street parking, there's the parking right next to it, and then there's the parking in the rear. So there's 16 spots right up front. So, I mean, it's comparable to what they had before, because in the back, they have way more, handicap spots. So that was probably the part I liked the least about it, was the parking. But I mean, I still think there is enough parking, especially since they'll be able to get in and get out quicker, because we'll be able to have, more Badger books there, and, like the process should be quicker there. So.
Maybe even some of the workers can park where they used to and then walk through the inside to get to the band.
Right. Yeah, and generally that's what we ask them to do, when they're working anyway. So, or sometimes they'll carpool with each other like that too.
And then I know there's the ramp going into the room, but coming in back when we went to school there was only steps. There wasn't an ADA.
So now it's 0 entry. It has a push assist door. And then there's so to get into that hallway, it's a really wide hallway, which I liked too, because if you have a line for the presidential, there's tons of room in that hallway, and there's no steps. And then there's the ramp into the room. So yeah, it's very ADA compliant.
Awesome.
I mean, and my thought process is, if, parking was a complete bear in August, that we have enough time to adjust before November. So that was kind of the thinking of, if we're going to make any changes, to make it before the presidential. And then it'll, definitely be some getting out there and spreading the word too, will be a big part of it.
I like the plowing aspect of it, because Trinity was not out at all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah. They had
They did the door so you could open it. That was that was the extent of any snow removal at Trinity at the last one.
Yeah, they have a 4-inch rule, or is 3 or 4. So they don't plow until they have that much snow, and the preference to being if there's a Sunday service. So that was kind of, it was pretty panicky. And then like the Legion, they weren't even gonna plow at all. I mean, our chief inspector here, he got a text that was like, could you please go out and shovel? So, if we have the Washington Center, the street crew could come out and plow, and we're in control of that. If we have it at other locations, we have less control. So I liked, that was an eye opener for me in April.
All right, any other questions? Can I get a motion?
I would do two separate motions, one for each ordinance.
Okay. Get a motion for the central count to be located here at City Hall, correct?
Yes, in the lobby conference room.
I'll second it.
Motion been made by Mike, seconded by Bob, to have the city, or have a central count for votes here at the municipal building for absentee ballots. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And consider the motion for consideration of the voting locations.
I'll make a motion to consolidate voting locations as presented for wards 1 and 2, 3 and 9, and 10 and 12 at the following locations: Municipal Building, Washington Center Band Room, and the American Legion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Nicole. New library update. Ann?
Good evening. Thanks for having us. Steve and I. So in the last couple months, some of you have attended our tours of the bank building that we've been having, and we've been showing people what the bank looks like right now, so that people can see that it needs considerable work to become a library. And we also were hoping to take people through and describe all the places that, like here's where the children's department's going to be. Hopefully that people will catch the vision of what we're going to try to do down there. So we are having another tour on May 14th from 4 to 7. If you haven't been able to attend one of the previous ones, and we encourage you to come down and take a look at the bank, what it looks like. So that's what we've been doing on the public PR part. Otherwise, we've been working with Keller on the interiors of the bank building, the library, as you would say. So we've been working on what kind of flooring we want, what color the paint is going to be, what the door colors are going to be. So if you've ever built a house, you know that you have to have every single thing, what the doors are going to be, what the trim's going to be, what the cabinet pulls are going to be, what the door pulls are going to be. And that all leads up to that and for electrical, plumbing, and HVAC to decide where that's going to be and how that's going to work. And all of this is going to lead up to the construction documents, which are going to begin in the August work. And then the tentative timeline, besides the August date of the construction documents, we're hoping that in September we're going to go out to bid. And then in October, we'll have the board approve the bids. And then November, start construction. And July, depending on supply chain, which I guess for some of the electrical work is still iffy on how long it takes for some of that to be done. In the meantime, we have been continuing to fundraise. More importantly, we've had Kathy Quitt, who some of you may know as the past superintendent, school superintendent, has worked with us to write a grant. It was a non-state funds grant, and that was due January 31st. And it will be granted in late summer. So we'll find out in late summer, no real date. And so the second one that we will be working on is called the Flexible Facilities Grant. Now that one is really directed at libraries and community centers. It's a construction grant that is, in my opinion, long overdue. They haven't had bricks and mortar for libraries in a very long time. So again, Kathy will assist us in writing that, and the focus of that grant, I believe it's coming from ARPA funds, so it's a federal grant coming down to the state and then passing on to the community. So it's coming from the municipality that is really is going to push the button to file it. But that is focused on high-speed internet access. So it's for work, education, and healthcare, all of that we do right now in the library. And that grant is due July 11th. And awards will be given no later than 5 days. So we're really hopeful on both of those grants, but especially that second one. The first one seems to be taking quite a while to make a decision on.
Are they percentage grants or just
Uh,
are they?
So the first one, I'm not sure about the second one. There's a webinar tomorrow to talk more about how that process is going to work and the application. But the first one, they did say, if you didn't get the grant, what's your plan? All of it. So that is a percentage. That could be. But it could be fully funded. Either way. I'm not sure about the second. But tomorrow, like I said, we'll be listening to the webinar tomorrow to get more information. Any other questions?
Without the grants, where is the funding sitting?
So in our trust fund, as I asked you today for the exact fund, we're at $1.6 million. So we have $600,000 in the trust fund as it stands. $1 million we did move to a CD last, it's a 6-month CD, so I'm not sure, but that was at 5%, so way better than anything we have been seeing, which is a pittance. We probably should have done that last year. But I thought we couldn't do it. City money, but I'm not, whatever. And then we have 930-some thousand outstanding. Okay. So that's, what's that? About 2.5. And the Friends still have 100 and some thousand bucks. Somebody just gave another 100,000. So really 1.7. As soon as we transfer that. So whatever's left, the total cost will be probably 4.5 million. We'll ask for it.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Ann.
Sure, thanks for having us. Please come to the tour if you. Right down.
Good luck on your grants.
Oh, yeah.
Move on to the ambulance consortium update. Chad?
Sure.
So just a quick update. This is not an action item. Last Tuesday, April 30th, Gold Cross called a consortium meeting with all the participants in the Wapaka County Ambulance Consortium. The thing I want to point out, and the reason for the meeting, was that Gold Cross was notified from, Gold Cross takes care of a consortium, and you can see on the screen here, all the municipalities that are in the consortium, that's the Wapaka County Consortium, they also service the Fox Valley, and they have different a different area that they can, serve with that. The reason for this meeting was that Gold Cross was notified that the town of Grand Chute has plans on pulling out of service with Gold Cross. Gold Cross, the Gold Cross, Grand Chute area included the town of Greenville. I think it's their village right now, Greenville, town of Ellington, town of Center. So it was those 4 communities that were in a little group by themselves. Grand Chute was the biggest player in that, or had the most revenue coming in because they had the most ambulance calls in that municipality. So Grand Chute pretty much funded, for the most part, the Greenville, Ellington, town of Center, Grand Chute. Like I said, Grand Chute has plans of pulling out. That kind of left Greenville, Ellington, and Center to go, okay, what are we going to do now? Because we were in your group. Grand Chute has plans on providing the services through themselves, through the municipality. So Gold Cross has been talking to Greenville, Ellington, and Center, and basically provided to the consortium the, I guess, the option, the thought, the best case scenario for those 3 municipalities to jump onto the Wapaka County consortium. So right now, we have 3 ambulances that supply all these municipalities that you see on the screen. I can't remember how many there are, but 3 ambulances that do that. And what Gold Cross is proposing is bringing in those 3 other communities and adding a 4th ambulance in the consortium. So this right here, sorry, I think you're counting numbers there, but right now our subsidy is $13.17 for all the municipalities in this consortium for the 3 ambulances. The question was, and there's been talk about from some, especially some of these townships, about trying to get another ambulance in the consortium just for the response time, to try to reduce that response time, especially if the New London ambulance is busy and it's on site or something like that. What Gold Cross does is shift things over a little bit, and that sometimes does reduce, increases the call time just because you're reducing it down to 2 ambulances. So there's been kind of this, hope that someday they could get another ambulance in the consortium. So again, right now we're at 1317. If, for example, the consortium without Greenville, Center, and Ellington, if we would get a 4th ambulance, our subsidy cost would jump up to $32.04 just for that 4th ambulance. It's expensive. However, and this is what Gold Cross is proposing, because it's a great opportunity to get a 4th ambulance. If Center, Greenville, and Ellington get into our consortium and we add another ambulance into it, our subsidy only goes up to $15.64. So it goes from that 1317 currently with 3 ambulances. You bring in those 3 communities, 4 ambulances, it goes to 1564. And what they do is they shift things around once an ambulance is on call. And what they have in your packet is the breakdown. You can see actually Greenville, before that, New London, the city of New London was the biggest contributor to the consortium just because of our population. You can see that just adding Greenville brings in a huge amount of revenue because of their population into this consortium to provide that extra ambulance. So not an action item at this time. Gold Cross wanted to have this meeting with the consortium just to kind of let everybody know this is a talk of what Gold Cross is having talks with Greenville, Ellington, and Center, and it sounds like those 3 municipalities are very interested in getting on board. So just kind of like a heads up update of what happened at that meeting. Any questions with that? Does that make sense? Yes, our subsidy would go up slightly, but I guess the benefit to that is there's a 4th ambulance and it'd be in the Greenville area that if the New London ambulance is called out for a call, they would shift over the Greenville ambulance to be between Greenville and New London, and we'd be on call with that ambulance as well in this area. So
If you have a bad accident with a lot of victims, you're gonna want another ambulance.
Yep.
You're covering a lot of territory.
and you could be pulling a couple different ambulances, and what they do is they either call for mutual aid or they start pulling Gold Cross ambulances out of the valley to kind of stage over in this area.
Yeah.
They just do staging, for the most part.
Okay, move on to the monthly financial reports. Judy?
Oh, number 7.
We got one more. Did I miss it?
Oh, I got it.
Um,
All right, we'll look on the part-time customer service team member.
So in your packet is a draft job description, modified job description. We have in our west side, the Public Works Parks and Rec side, we have a full-time administrative assistant, and we've had in the past a part-time administrative assistant, which that position is open right now. We talked internally about the need to modify this part-time job description a little bit, just to allow more flexibility to actually, instead of just helping the west window, Parks and Rec Public Works, encompass the entire building. I mean, we have needs when there's elections going on or when there's tax collection going on, a lot of floating is happening. We did a lot of floating in the past, but we just thought it'd be a good opportunity since this position is open to update the job description now to kind of make it a little bit more generalized that you're helping the entire building instead of just Public Works and Parks and Rec. That position would still report to the Parks and Rec and Public Works directors because they're staged in the back. But we changed the job description just to reflect more generalized approach for the entire building, just to help out as needed. So we're asking for the consideration to approve the updated job description so that then we would turn around and market it and fill that part-time position for the office.
And this position is already budgeted, just so you know, for 2024. It was budgeted for the entire year, but they were looking at different alternatives for the position. So this is what came up with.
Any other questions? Get a motion to approve the job description for a part-time customer service team member.
Make that motion. For part-time service, for part-time customer service team member position.
Just the description of.
Pardon?
Yeah, we just changed the description of it. It's already budgeted. So
So that's the motion.
Pardon?
Your motion
Yeah,
is to
make the
change the
motion.
description.
Make the motion.
A second.
motion been made by Bob, seconded by John. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now we'll move on to the financial director's reports. Judy?
Thank you. All right, so first we are looking at the expenditure report. And we are a quarter of a way through the year already. Although we sit in May, we sit 2 months previous for reporting purposes. So this is through March of 2024. And so most of these should be at about 25%. So what I do is I explain those that would exceed that percentage. So here in insurance, we pay most of our insurance up front. Eventually that will level off over time. Equipment replacement, also we have additional dollars set aside for this, including, and when I show you the signed and unassigned fund balance, the list of equipment and projects that need to be done from previous years. So when we charge them where they need to be charged, knowing that we have that money set aside and designated funds to pay for them. Otherwise, debt service, we pay a lot, most of our debt service in the first quarter of the year. And otherwise, everything is, I don't see anything that at this time that's going to go over budget. Or anything that's causing me to, red flags or anything at this time for expenditures. Anyone have any questions on anyone in particular? And we'll move on to the revenues. And again, we're at 25%. One of the things I did notice when I was going through my packet today in preparation was that this percentage is not correct. So we can see that's probably more at 75%. The decimal point must be in the wrong spot. But we collect taxes, in January and February, and we collected 75% of those already. So we're already at 3 million and we budgeted 4 million. Again, on the revenue side, we are collecting more interest than currently anticipated. As far as the budget is concerned in 2024, so you can see we're already at quarter of the year at 58% in collection and interest, which is a positive thing, but I was not expecting us to collect that kind of revenue, so we're probably going to more than exceed what was anticipated in that area. What we would do then at that point is we decide then we don't rely as heavily on reserves. So we just cut back on those areas when we find that our revenue collection is higher than, and or we move those dollars over to the capital budget at the end of the year.
That last percentage rate, 880-some%.
That's not right. You know, 1 month I love computers. 1 month they're fine and the next month I don't. And then I'll have Missy fix them because she wrote this program actually. They're fixed and then they write and then they're not right. So I think there's gremlins inside most computers. So I think they mess with me while I'm sleeping at night and then I come in and it's like, seriously? So sorry about that. Yes, but you are correct. We are not at 868% of our budget when we anticipate collecting 9.8 million and we're at 3.5.
How much more do we get in state aid?
I'm sorry?
How much more do we get in state aid now than what we used to for highway?
Highway aids, we're at 625,000. It's all by itself right here. So we collected a quarter. They pay us quarterly for highway aids.
Quarterly?
Quarterly. So that's gonna come in total. We got those estimates quite early before the budget process begins. So I don't usually have any problems with the estimates in highway aids because we know what those are. Any other questions on the revenue? Again, at this point, I don't have any red flags. Also on the revenue side, I anticipate all of our dollars to be collected throughout the year. And if I do know anything as we go through, then I would let you know in the month of which I know if I anticipate any of them not to be collected. But as of March of this year, I feel like we will collect at 100%, not 800%, but 100%. I'll put a big white purple around that and talk to Missy in the morning. So that's the revenues. And then we look and assign an unassigned fund balance. And this is the list I was talking about. Besides bond money that we have set aside for the payment of the projects, of which I have a report that I sent to Chad to share with you tonight. The 5th report, a new one about our bond dollars. These are the list of projects, and part of that is supply chain issues and that we've had since COVID. So we have $718,000 sitting in reserves. And those do hit those capital projects account, and that's why it looks like it's over budget, but we do have those dollars set aside. Otherwise, there are no changes within the assigned or unassigned fund balance. Any questions on any of those? And then the wheel tax, we collected again through March, so actual $10,000 is what we've collected. And here's the projects that we have earmarked for the year, part of it for North Street, some for the Wolf River Development Project, and then House and Alcan Road for engineering. I know Robert talked to me about, I don't know if he talked about that, and oh yeah, because it was already passed, so he'll be talking about some other sidewalk, I believe, project that
Patching,
patching.
street patching.
That came over budget of what he currently has, so he'll be talking about that at the next Department of Public Works meeting. And we may earmark some dollars then, assuming whatever the committee decides, then I would add that to this list. And then, can you, bring up that
Yep.
other document? Sorry, I didn't get this to you, with the packet, and I can send it out to you. But, this is the bonding schedule that, our current bonding that we had and the projects that are going on right now. I think besides, looking at this for our purposes, when people are saying, what are you doing? You know, where is the money going and what are you spending on? This gives you kind of a snapshot of what that looks like. So this is a downtown project, TID 5 is our downtown projects. And here's the estimated cost, original estimated cost. And that TID 5 project set was at 5.4 million. Remembering that there's an 80-20 grant from the state at $2.9 million. We have Eastridge, Lucas, Zachary, and Aubrey. The ADA sidewalk, which is completed in Hatton. We have a Caterpillar that's we're still waiting for. We had the fire equipment replacement. Besides these dollars, they did get some capital dollars. They were in a number of months ago, and we went through that process. The library donation. We anticipate that as they need those dollars, in the meantime, we'll collect interest on the $500,000 that the city is donating to that library project. And then here's House, Downtown, and Liberty Road. So those are going on right now, and we're spending dollars on those as those invoices come in. And then here's the funding. So we have the ARPA funding that we earmarked for these projects, 80-20 grant, and then the bonding. And then as we pay those down, you'll see this balance be depleted over time. One of the things I'm going to have to account for, though, is that, which is different than what I'm used to be honest with you, is that the state is actually paying the bills and we're getting the difference. So I'm going to take a second look at this, and I have to adjust the TID $5 as the state pays, because the last bill that came in that Robert got was like $8,000, and I'm not used to that. This is the first time that I have an administrative grant, to be honest with you, that the state paid and then just sent us the difference. So it's kind of nice. And then here's the sanitary sewer part. So when we did the project downtown, we anticipated that, here's our estimated cost was $1,051,000 for that project downtown. We spent 1.27 and $373,000 of that. So we were over by 218, but $373,000 of that will be coming back in special assessments. So we actually were under budget for the sewer side. So I will get this out to the committee. Like I said, we were working on this right to the last second. And I was just able to bring that up. So I did have it on the agenda. I just didn't have the attachment. All right, any questions on any of those?
That special assessment, is that coming back in increments over like 3 years?
10 years. Mhm.
Where we lent the money?
Correct. Yep,
10 years at 1%, I think we did.
yep. Just administrative fees on that, and some of those were quite large. So. And we have had some paid up front. So this is what we're going to collect, but we've already collected some of it. So,
You'll have a lot more of that when they do Oshkosh Street, I'm assuming.
yep. We'll be doing more for Oshkosh Street, correct? Starting on that engineering now too, so be moving forward in that project for next year. So that's that. And then, thank you. And then I will go through my report. So one of the big things that I had to get done for this month So once I hit April and winding down with my audit, which I'm still answering questions on and going through, then we began a very big reporting deadline for all municipalities to the state of Wisconsin. So there'll be a number of reports that I need to get done and finished, and that usually ends about the end of July. So right now, last month or during April, I sent in the expenditure restraint. And that's the one where we get about $100,000 if we don't go over a percentage that they provide to us, and it's based on the cost of living adjustments for the year. But because Act 12 came in last year and we received those additional dollars, the purpose of it this year was not so much did we qualify, because we qualified if we qualified last year. It's resetting our base. So we went up about 7% last year. So that base will be higher. So when we're under that restraint of 3%, we have it earmarked at our base. So the important part about getting it in this year wasn't so much as if we qualified, because we did, but getting our base up where it needed to be. I also reported to the federal government on our ARPA funding. We have not spent any of those dollars yet, and that is for our downtown project. So we will be depleting that in 2023. So that was for $742,000, and we have a number of us in the office that get those emails. So that report has been completed and sent in. Like I said, I continue to work with the auditors. I did just finish the general fund fixed assets reporting for our yearly depreciation schedule, which they need to complete that audit. I continue to work with Stephanie on payroll and human resources items as those things arise. I did the audit entries, so within the last couple of weeks here, my next big report that's due to the state by the 15th of the month, the state financial report. So I am completion of that this week. And then I have April look it over before I send that in early next week. And then just continue to meet with Chad and Robert and Ginger on downtown. We talk about a lot that's going on down there. It takes us time within our office just to communicate, make sure we all know what's going on. And then I sent out some account numbers for the staff on capital projects and equipment to make sure that things are going into the proper accounts. Tomorrow we are having our HSAs here for the wellness committee. So it looks like we do have increased participation. We did them both at the utilities and the city this year. So it seems like people appreciated the two sites. And then another report that I have to get my brain wrapped around is the maintenance of effort reporting. That's also new with Act 12. So we do not have to do the maintenance of effort for the police department because we're under 20,000 in population, but it looks like I do have to do the fire department. So I'm working through getting myself ready to complete that reporting. That first report is due middle of June, and then the rest of it is due by July.
And the maintenance of effort is the requirements because of the extra state share revenue funding.
Correct. So with that funding, part of the stipulation was that we spend as much or more on police departments and fire departments, emergency services, and EMS if we have them, but we don't have EMS. So, and then we began a discussion with Ellers about some financial data. And then the last thing I do want to mention before we say bye is that Ginger did talk to you last night about capital projects, and she needed an additional $11,000 for her senior van. And we'll be moving forward with those 2 meetings prior to council meeting, so that we can get those on the council agenda. Okay.
Correct.
She just asked that that I visit also and let you know that we did talk about that, and that, yep, we can move forward on that because we did have some sales, some squads to help pay for that, and she also has some sales coming up. So we'll be pushing that revenue into that capital projects, and we'll be able to fund, if that committee so decides, fund that senior van.
Great, thank you, Judy. Any other questions? Now I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Mike, seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.